And welcome back to Scarred for Life, the podcast where we open up old wounds by looking back at the films that scared us as kids. I'm Terry.
And I'm Mary Beth.
And each episode, our special guest brings with them a movie that traumatized them as a child.
This week, our guest is Max Booth. He's a writer who is known for We Need to Do Something, which was turned into a movie last year. His latest book, Maggots Screaming, comes out tomorrow. He's also the host of the Ghoulish podcast and the owner of Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing. Welcome to the show!
Oh, thank you for having me. This is going to be fun.
I'm really excited to dive into the movie, but...
I have a quick question before we really jump in. What does it sound like when maggots scream?
I'm glad.
That was perfect timing.
Good job, Frank. That was great.
There's your answer. You don't even have to answer anymore.
I have to answer though because it's a fun response I can give. Because the title comes from the research I was doing while writing the book. And I read a book called Stiff by Millie Roach, which is a nonfiction book about just how bodies decompose and various different things concerning dead bodies. And there's one section in the book where she describes what maggots sound like if you have a whole bunch of maggots in one place together and how they writhe against each other. They make a sound that sounds like Rice Krispies, like with milk going over it. And to me, I immediately thought, oh no, that's just the sound of all the maggots screaming. And just the title just came to me immediately then.
I'm never going to eat Rice Krispies again.
I asked the question and therefore asked for that answer, but oh boy. So how'd you get into horror, Max?
Well, I think probably the same as most people, I was walking through the woods one day and I heard something shouting for help and I thought, oh no, what could that be? So I followed the sound and it was a maggot screaming for help.
That'll yarn.
Yeah, so...
Mary Beth is choking.
It sounded like this. This was what the maggot sounded like. Hey kid, help me! Hey! It was just one maggot.
Just one very large maggot. I love that. Oh my god, I think we've killed Mary Beth.
It's pretty billing, I had siblings who were older than I was, who were into it, so it was always on, so I just have always loved the genre, and I haven't known a life without it.
Do you remember what your first horror movie was?
I recall being obsessed with Sam Raimi's movies, so the Evil Dead movies. I watched those over and over, especially, I guess the whole trilogy, really. We had them on VHS and then eventually DVD, and I just loved them so much. And, I recall when I was a kid, we had the special DVD edition of the Book of the Dead. It was the disc, but the case was supposedly human flesh.
Oh, I had that.
Oh, okay.
I had that one.
Yeah, that was great.
Remember the instructions said to put it in the fridge or something, and it's supposed to feel like clammy skin.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No one told me about the fridge.
But you're a writer, so did you read a lot of horror as well as watch a lot of horror when you were a kid?
Yeah, definitely. I began with Goosebumps and Christopher Pike, and quickly progressed into the many, many books of Stephen King. And it was mostly Stephen King for a long time until I kind of discovered the indie horror community and found out about all these other books that also exist. And now I read anything.
Do you remember, the scariest book you ever read as a kid? Or the one that scared you the most as a kid?
Maybe The Body, a.k.a. Stand By Me. That one, that book was pretty scary, I thought, to read as a kid. Just, the fact that kids can die.
Yeah.
The plot is they're going to find a dead kid. And I think for a lot of children, they tend to think... maybe because of most movies will not kill a kid, that, oh, well, I'm a child and I'm just protected by some magical entity. Nothing will happen to me until I'm grown up. But no, in Stephen King's The Body, just some kid has been fucking killed by a train. And now these little kids will going to find it, and there's nothing magical about it. They find the body, and it's like, well, this is sad.
Yeah, I remember reading that book as a kid, and it kind of ruining me myself, honestly, because it's so different than the normal Stephen King books that I used to read, because it, like you said, it is grounded in very real situations that are mundane almost.
Yeah.
Aside from the movie that we're talking about today, were there other movies you remember from a kid that actually scared you?
Pet Sematary scared the shit out of me as a kid. Something just about the zombie gauge that gave me nightmares. And I met the guy who played the kid like a month ago, actually.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, I live in San Antonio, and I do a lot of local events. Like, there's a bunch of spooky type of festivals throughout the year. And so I usually buy a table to sell my books at, and they usually have like a special guest. And recently he was one of them. I can't recall his name, but I mean, he was pretty cool. He came up, he looked at the books we had, didn't buy any, but that's okay. That's all right. Like, I just did one this weekend too, and the special guest was Tony Moran. He played Michael Myers in the original Halloween without the mask.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, that scene was like, what, 5 seconds long, I think? I can't recall. But, I mean, yeah, a lot of celebrities, I don't know what I'm talking about this, but whatever. I mean, like, a lot of celebrities who, like, will briefly in one thing 20 years ago, I seem to encounter them a lot because they do these conventions and they charge, like, in the case of Tony Moran, $55 for an autograph, and he makes bank. I mean, that line did not end the entire weekend.
Wow.
I hope to do that one day. I don't think I can get away with it yet, but that's my dream, is to just sign my name for a living. That would be great.
That would be great.
Oh, you want my signature? $1,000. I would be suspicious of anyone who would pay for my autograph. I would say, what are you framing me for?
But so now, what draws you to the horror genre as an adult?
I just love it. It's like a sicko's dreamland delight. I mean, I love the feeling of not belonging. I love things making me uncomfortable. I just love being a fucking freak, and it's like the best genre to embrace that
Hell
with.
yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, like, fantasy is not really my bag because it's mostly just like, here's a big map of a land I created. Well, you impressed? And then, like, the horror genre is like, here's a guy who has 8 legs and one of them's made of pinky toes, and now it's gonna penetrate you. I don't know. I had this dream last night. I was at a...
Oh my god!
I had this dream last night. I was at a consult, okay? And I was helping someone crowd surf. So the feet came to me. I was like, okay. And I kept pushing the body along. And we got to the front of the body. And it was just legs again. How creepy is that? You can't get that in some other genre. Maybe erotica. I don't know.
I mean, it sounds a little erotic, for sure.
It was a pretty spicy dream.
Horrific cosmic horror bullshit. It's just legs and legs and legs.
I think I dreamt that because at the event I did this weekend, they had just a random Misfits cover band playing in the room next to us, and I went over to just join in. And these parents had like a kid who must have been at the most 3 years old. And he's sitting on the dad's shoulders with like soundproof headphones on. He's rocking out. And then they decided to let the kid crowd surf on them. But then everybody wanted to hold the kid. So we were all crowd surfing this kid as the musician screamed the song Bullet by the Misfits. And it was really, I don't know. It felt like it was religious almost. It was like a great feeling. But then the kid's shoe came off and I caught it. So I have to assume those two things are related somehow. I've had an odd weekend.
It sure sounds like it. Mary Beth looks broken again.
It's incredible. It's an incredible series of stories you just told me. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
My brain's a little slow right now, but I'm loving like just the relationship between and you having the shoe. Like you are responsible for the child's shoe.
I had to make my way through this mosh pit. I mean, big mosh pit at like a a festival and hand the mom the kid's shoe back. I don't know.
Wow.
I should have kept it. I should have kept it.
So, besides your dreams, do you remember the last time a movie scared you?
Trying to think, because I know there is something, but fuck if I can think of anything. Maybe The Descent. That movie is really terrifying, I think. I guess there's some sections of The Empty Man that I find pretty unsettling.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I would go with that one. That's pretty recent, and no one watches it, so they should go watch The Empty Man.
They should. We're huge proponents of it. It's such a good movie.
Yeah.
We are Empty
Cosmic
Man
horror.
defenders in this house.
I love that movie so much.
It's so good.
So good.
Speaking of loving that movie so much, what are some of your horror favorites as an adult? Put you on the spot.
I'm bad at thinking of movies. The Lighthouse is something I just love to death. Big fan of The Lighthouse. I loved Nightmare Alley that came out last year. I thought that was pretty good.
I still have to see it.
I was lucky enough to go and sneak away to one of the black and white screenings that went through. And I can't imagine watching it any other way now. Like, I know it's on Hulu now, but I don't want to see it again. It's like, nah, it was perfect in black and white.
What do you like reading now?
I love reading Brian Evanson. Brian Evanson's great. I recommend his book Last Days to anyone. It's about this detective who loses his hand. He quits his job. Then he gets contracted by this mysterious guy on an island saying, there's been a homicide on my island, and we need you to investigate it. We need you specifically to investigate it because we don't allow anyone on the island who has not been mutilated. So It's really trippy. Island religion of people who self-mutilate themselves. And it's like, the more mutilations you've done, the higher up in this cult you become. So Last Days by Brian Evanson, I would highly recommend that book. What else I've been reading lately? I don't know. I haven't had a ton of time to do just pleasure reading. I've mostly been reading slush submissions from my publishing company, Ghoulish Books / Perpetual Motion Machine Books. The umbrella company is PMMP, but we recently launched a spooky imprint called Ghoulish Books. So I am reading a bunch of books for potential publication with that company, which I can't talk about yet.
You talked about loving horror and being a little freak. Are you a big extreme horror person, like splatterpunk books and stuff like that?
No, not really.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it. I don't tend to go out of my way to watch it. When I think of deviants and freaks and stuff like that, I think it's more in the killer tools I like. I'm struggling to think of the guy who made this movie, but it's called Relaxel. He also made a movie called Buzzled. I don't know if those will ring any bells, but he makes a lot of indie movies, and Buzzled is about a guy who gets one of those old Nintendo gloves and he turns it into a blade almost. He just has a bad day for the Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. I have seen Relaxer. Joel Portricus? I don't know how to say his last name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching Relaxer, and that was a wild movie. That was a movie you could actually smell through the screen.
Yeah. So movies like that, well, it's just filthy and sleazy. I love that. Anything by Cronenberg, I love. Because everyone is just kind of despicable.
How did you get introduced to writing, and how did you start writing horror fiction?
So as I was saying, I was walking through the woods as a kid, and I heard someone shouting, and so I followed the voice, and I came upon this tiny maggot with a top hat and a cigar, and he was like, "Hey, kid!" And he wanted me to get him out of the.
I was thinking, "Hello, my lovey, hello, my darling."
Nah, he didn't have a singing voice. It was more it was more like a lazy Tom Waits type of voice. So he needed some help. He couldn't get out of this grave he found himself in. So I grabbed him and I took him home. And he said, let me tell you how to get rich. So I listened to him, and basically this maggot, he knows every potential idea of any book or movie that will ever be conceived in the past, present, and future. Because I saved him, he gave me that gift as well. I just had to insert him into my nostril, and he crawled up into my brain. Well, he now lives. And basically from that day forth, I've just been writing just nonstop. I've never had writer's block or anything. It's like my own secret trick.
Do you ever wonder if it's you or the maggot that is coming up with the stories, though?
I don't think there's a difference at this point.
No. You've become the maggot.
Yeah. And the maggot has become me.
I am the maggot.
It is I who is screaming help. I always found some type of creative outlet as a kid. It probably began with me like making these bootleg comic books as a child and printing copies and selling them on the school bus and then getting in trouble for doing that, or like writing zombie books at lunch in school and then getting suspended for reasons. And I guess I kind of like that, like getting in trouble for being creative. So maybe it just kind of pushed me in the right direction. It's like I guess it's like an anti-ability thing in me. Well, if I'm a child and some grown-up comes up and goes, "What's wrong with you? You shouldn't be doing that." I'm just going to keep doing that.
I get that.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so what is Maggot Screaming about?
This is a book about a dad and son. One hot summer weekend in San Antonio, Texas, they go back to the dad's house because the dad and the mom, they have been divorced. They live in separate houses. The mom and the new boyfriend, they're going on a mini vacation. The dad is pissed because the mom tried taking the son with her, even though it was his weekend. So he went over to the house and raised hell. He got his way. He took the son back to his house, which is the house he used to live in with his wife before she left. And to get his revenge on the wife, he decides him and the son, they were going to dig up the old garden in the backyard that the wife planted years and years ago, and it's now mostly dead and desecrated. So he's like, you know what? Father and son activity. Let's dig this thing up and do a new one, just you and me. So they spend all day digging it up, and they find 3 bodies in the ground that are identical to the son, dad, and mom.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's as if they are the same age almost, and they look exactly the same. They have not decomposed at all. They look brand new, fresh corpses. So the dad and the son, they grab the bodies and drag them out of the grave. And at that moment, the bodies begin to decompose. But so do the alive versions. So now the rest of the book is this dad and son, decomposing and trying to understand what is happening to their bodies and how to fix it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That sounds gnarly.
Yeah. I want it to be a musical one day.
I could see it. Just
I
a
think so.
choir of
Hell
little
yeah.
maggots.
I want to do like claymation maggots with top hats and canes, like in a line, just dancing. I think it would be awesome.
Like in Coraline when they had the little mice dance, like the little kangaroo rats dancing with the maggot.
Yes.
Oh, that would be so fun.
Yeah. One day, maybe. That would be cool.
Maybe when you're selling your autograph for $1,000, then you can just fund it with that.
I mean, how much could claymation cost? 1 autograph?
Probably. It sounds about right.
I used to try doing claymation just as a hobby, but then I gave up because I was bad at it.
It's hard. It looks really hard.
Forever.
I have no patience for that.
No.
I always have a fun time doing it, and I think, yeah, this is going to look kick-ass, and then I upload it, and it's just pathetic looking. It's just not good.
So I'm curious, like, you talked about your dream with all the legs. You talked about Maggot Screaming. Where do kind of you find inspiration for your stories and for your books and for kind of just like the tales that you like to tell?
I don't know. I guess it's just like an idea has to be strange enough to keep me thinking about it for a long time. Like maggots specifically, it came from I was digging up an old garden in the backyard with my stepson, and I like to freak him out sometimes. So I leaned in close and I said, "Hey, what if we found a body in this ground? He said, don't talk about that. And I leaned in closer and I said, what if the body was you? And he seemed pretty disturbed by that. So I just kind of thought, this could be a good idea. And I kept thinking about that, and it led to the book.
Hell yeah. Wait, so basically a dad joke became not a dad joke, I guess, but kind of like a creepy dad joke became, that's incredible.
The same thing with we need to do something, actually, because my family and I were in the bathroom during a tornado warning, and to break the ice, I said to them, hey, what if we got stuck in this bathroom and no one came to find us? And they were already creeped out and scared, and they didn't appreciate that question too much.
That's one that in the moment probably didn't go over well.
I laughed.
Yeah.
That's all that's important.
So you wrote, we need to do something. What is that process like emotionally, mentally, however, about taking your story and having it made into a movie, basically?
Exhausting, and also really cool. I would recommend it to anyone. If anyone listening wants to just like write a book and go get it made, I think they should do that. I don't know what's stopping them. It's just a great thing to do.
It's so easy.
They should do it. I don't know. Like, I wrote it originally as a screenplay before I wrote it as a book, because a friend of mine who used to write books had some luck with screenplays. He had lunch with me and he said, Max, there's no money in books. There's money in screenplays. You should write a screenplay and I will try to help you sell it. So I wrote this and I sent it to him, and we sent it to a company that he knew, and they never responded. And that was the only company he knew to send to.
Oh boy.
I should say, I mean, his name is Shane McKenzie. He's had some great stuff come out. He wrote Bingo, which came out on Amazon. I mean, he's pretty good. But we just didn't have any luck with this screenplay I wrote. So I got impatient, and I thought, well, that was my attempt at becoming a screenwriter. I'm going to rewrite this as a book, which I'm glad I did, because the book ended up being slightly different from the original screenplay. I mean, there was no black magic in the original screenplay. No love interest in the screenplay. But with the novella, I had some real time to think about things. And I think when I wrote the screenplay originally, I was too afraid of, like, budget stuff. I was like, how much old budgets? I don't know how movies were made, but I should try to be really, like, common with everything, try to be really minimalistic. And I think it kind of screwed me a bit until I rewrote it as a novella, which is mostly what the finished movie is. There's a few differences in the final screenplay from the novella, but not too many. So once I wrote it as a book, as I was finishing that book, I received some emails from a TV producer asking me questions about a different book of mine called Touch the Night. And I did not know how to answer his questions, so I contacted a different friend of mine who hooked me up with his film and TV manager. And him and I got along pretty quickly, and he took me on as a client. He helped me answer those questions about Touch the Night. And then he said, what else you got? And I showed him, we need to do something. He loved it. He said it could easily be a movie. So I rewrote a new screenplay. I didn't want to show him the old one. I sent it to him, and we went through a few drafts, him giving me some notes, me banging out a new edition, and then he said, okay, I'm going to go sell this. And then like a month later, he said, hey, I have a Zoom meeting with someone who wants to direct this movie. And that was with Shane King O'Grady. We Zoomed in July of 2021, and we began filming at the end of September of 2021. No, 2020. I apologize. I don't know what fucking year I'm living in.
Shit. I was like, holy shit, that was so... What?
No, it was 2020. Time means nothing anymore.
Time, it's a construct.
Yeah, I forgot we were in 2022. Oh, man. Yeah, so I met Sean in July of 2020, and we wrapped at the end of October of that year. And then the movie debuted at Tribeca the following July.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Yeah. So if anyone listening is like, I just want to get a movie made, just do all that. I mean,
Just
it's
do it.
really easy.
Yeah, that seems really, really straightforward.
I don't think it's usually like that. I think I got lucky, and I think lucky is a shitty word to say, but I don't know what else to say. But like the timing was correct with my specific screenplay, because it is one setting and it has a limited cast. And unlike most Edel movies, it was pretty easy to film during COVID, during the lockdown. And the director, Sean King O'Grady, he was desperate to make a movie, and he came upon that screenplay, and he thought, oh, well, I can actually film this. We have a sound stage in Michigan. We can just build a bathroom, and we could quarantine the cast and crew in the hotel right next to the sound stage. And that's what we did. No one left the hotel or the soundstage. They shielded the same parking lot for a month. We all just stayed, and we were tested like 3 times a week. I mean, it was pretty strict. It needed to be. So, but we had no cases. I mean, it was pretty safe the way we handled it.
Well, that's rad.
Yeah.
Do you have any plans on writing any other screenplays, or do you want to keep writing screenplays?
Absolutely. I have a few. I have some I've written, some that'll dangerously close to being optioned. Ooh. Nothing official yet. Touch the Night, the book I mentioned that kind of began all this, is in the process of being developed into a TV show right now, so that's pretty exciting. I can't say with who. I'm not writing it, but I'm a producer on it, and I'm excited. So I'm hoping that actually happens.
Hell yeah. That's so fucking cool. Okay, but Max, we've talked about your horror history, but what movie did you bring with you today for us to discuss?
I brought Tales from the Crypt presents Demon Night.
We've got a very short and sweet plot synopsis here. A man on the run is hunted by a demon known as the Collector.
That is from IMDb, and boy, it doesn't really tell much of the tale, but it is. I guess it does distill it to its shortest.
Wrong.
It's not, no. Okay, but I need to know, when did you see this movie? How old were you? How did you see it? Give us your horror story.
I don't know when I watched this to begin with. We must have owned it on VHS. And it's something that I watched nonstop. Scenes were implanted in my memory from a really early age. And it's a movie I forgot existed between childhood and throughout my whole teenage years until my 20s again, because I kept thinking, what the fuck is that movie? What movie am I thinking of with all the green blood? And 5 years ago, I finally realized it was Demon Night. So I revisited it, and it's amazing. Love it. As a kid, a few things stick out. The green blood, absolutely. Mm. The demons themselves, really scary, I think, for children. They kind of look like the vampires from Dusk Till Dawn, which is pretty interesting coincidence, given that for the longest time, From Dusk Till Dawn was going to be the third Tales from the Crypt movie. So that's kind of odd. Billy Zane is amazing in this movie. I don't know how he exactly affected me when I was a kid, but I have a feeling that I was still amused by him like I am now. He is just a wild... I was watching behind the scenes thing of this movie before we recorded on my Blu-ray, and he was talking how he approached that character just like Robin Williams as the genie in Aladdin, and that's all I can see now.
Yeah, I can see that. When I was watching this, I was getting flashes because we had just recently watched Beetlejuice a few months ago, about a month or so ago, and I was thinking about how he reminds me of a sexier Beetlejuice, just sort of the kind of go for broke, jumping around, being kind of silly, but the genie, yeah, that's right there. Right there. The sponge that he shoots out of his mouth.
My God.
I guess that wasn't even in the script. I guess he went to the prop development. He was like, hey guys, give me a sponge. A clean sponge. I have an idea. So he just went nuts with this.
Wait, really? That's incredible.
Yeah. I don't think in the script he was written to be so amusing and charming. I think he just came with that in mind and just kind of took over the movie. That's my impression.
Well, whatever happened, he's I think he's the best part of the film, both because I find him so incredibly attractive, and also he just imbues it with such, I don't know, go for broke camp.
This is my first time seeing it. I had never seen it, and I'm very glad I have finally, because it is ridiculous. I didn't realize how campy, I knew it was campy, but I did not realize that it was almost slapsticky type campy a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's so fun.
It definitely is slapstick. I mean, the Phil's death, he takes the cop's head and says, "Heads up," and throws it.
Oh my god, it's so good.
The kills in this movie are fantastic. I particularly love when Cordelia gets turned and she's just like fucking ripping the arm off of Irene and just going for broke. It's so good.
I forgot about like a lot of the cast, like fucking CHH Poundals in this. I forgot about that completely. And I had just finished rewatching The Shield from the beginning like a month ago. So like seeing all this again, I was like, oh fuck yeah, I forgot she was in this. But I love anything she's in now.
I'm sorry, I think I spaced, but Max, how old were you when you first saw this movie? Did you say?
I have no idea. So I was born in 93. The movie came out in 95. So it's possible I saw it when I was 2. It's something we just had in the house that we watched a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's always been Demon Knight.
There's always been Demon Knight in my life, yes. A couple of years back, a friend of mine named Betty Rocksteady, who also loves this movie, we gave some serious thought to doing a podcast called Filthy Demons, Filthy Nights, where we would just watch this movie every week and talk about it. I'm sad we didn't, but I'm also glad we didn't, because that would be exhausting.
I think you'd probably lose your love for it at some point. You might gain it back after 50 nights, though. Just go through the whole cycle again.
I think the movie's awesome. I do think I discovered while watching it this time, I think it kind of drags a bit in the middle once they get the house like under lockdown. It felt a bit slow, like in the middle of the movie to me.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to be a siege movie when all the exits are like sealed off completely.
The blood sometimes feels like a bit convenient.
It is a little convenient for sure. And this, I saw it before Mary Beth saw it, but I'm a recent convert to this film. I think I saw it last year for the first time, because when it came out in 95. So I was 14. I was in like a stage of not watching horror movies at that time. And then I remember seeing it come out. I remember seeing the VHS at Blockbuster, but never went to it because it looked kind of like campy and silly more than like horror. Gotta have that horror. And it is. I feel like this movie would have done gangbusters in like the 80s when it was supposed to originally come out, when they were originally planning on filming it. Because this movie has like kind of a long history where it was originally supposed to be written. The script was originally written 2 years before the HBO series, and Tom Holland was attached to direct it as a follow-up to Child's Play. And then after that, it went to the Pumpkinhead screenwriter who sat on it. And then it went over to Mary Lambert. And then it went over to Charles Band, and eventually ended up at Joel Silver. And at one point, it wasn't even going to have demons in it. They were going to be like humans dressed in black suits and black glasses, sort of like Men in Black type thing. Yeah,
I think what I read was, it's like they didn't know if they had the budget for the demons, so they wrote 2 drafts. One, the demon draft, and one was the non-demon draft. And like Billy Zane would have been like a Bible salesman, and like everyone, the demons would have been just like, I don't know, fellow Bible salesmen.
Yeah, it's wild. And there was like this, I found this interview from Daily Dead that was talking with Todd Masters, who did the special effects on this. And he was talking about he when they found out that they were planning on maybe doing this without demons, he's like, we're Tales from the Crypt, who can't do a demon movie without demons. And he said that they hadn't, so he ended up trying to figure out ways of doing it on the cheap. And so they basically had 2 of their shop guys, a lab assistant and a runner, and 2 stunt guys playing the demons in the movie to keep costs low, because they were afraid that they weren't going to be able to get a demon movie.
That makes sense, because you don't see too many demons on screen at the same time. You usually get 1 or 2 popping out at you.
But it's funny that this originally was supposed to be the second movie in a trilogy of Tales from the Crypt movies, and they thought it was the strongest script, and so they went with it. And then the other 2 weren't produced, and they eventually would go on to do Bordello of Blood, but that wasn't the original plans. It's just, this movie has a wild history.
Does not seem like a Tales from the Crypt episode at all. I just begun like a rewatch of the show. I bought the DVD pack on eBay, and fairly different, I think, from the movie.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you had seen him, because I remember we never had cable growing up, but
Same.
I do remember when I would go to like visit a friend, I would be like, oh, if it was the night that it was on, we would end up watching an episode. I remember really liking it as a kid, but I don't really have a whole lot of memories attached to it because it was on HBO.
Like, the show from what I can gather, I'm midway through season 2 of my feels like big watch of the show. I've only seen like episodes here and there before. But every episode is basically, someone who's down in the luck. They get something that changes everything, but then it ends badly for them, and they pay the ultimate price. That's not really what this movie is. And, on the behind-the-scenes thing I was watching, even the screenwriters were like, well, this isn't a Tales from the Crypt movie. And they kept getting all these notes. Like, the notes they would get is, this is a monster movie. This is not a hero's journey type of movie. You have to make it more monsterific, which is a good note, I think, because Demon Knight is a great movie with monsters in it. You have to embrace that.
Did you ever watch them, Mary Beth?
I was just gonna say, I don't have much of a familiarity with the show, so for this, I was like, yeah, great.
I mean, it apes the beginning. What I do love about this rewatching at this time was the opening segment, which is filmed at the beginning, almost like it is going to be a Tales from the Crypt episode. And then the Crypt Keeper's yelling cut. And it reminded me a little bit of like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the way that movie kind of opened. And it adds like a very meta narrative to it, which is very popular in the mid 90s, because we're going into the Scream territory and everything was going to be like super referential. But I love that this movie did that, and then had John Larroquette playing the slasher in that segment, who of course I felt like was winking a nod to like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because that's where you got to start, right? And so there's but it also sets kind of the expectations for it's going to be very goopy, and it's going to be boobs, and it's going to be sex, because that segment pretty much sells those two things, and that's kind of what we get.
Is that what Tales from the Crypt usually is? Is it usually that kind of tone of like being silly and goopy and sexy like that?
Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff in the show, definitely. I was thinking while watching the movie, like, what reason do they have to make a Tales from the Crypt movie? Because it's on HBO anyway, so they can get away with anything they want. But I always forget that Tales from the Crypt was only like a 20-minute long episode. Yeah. I always think that Tales from the Crypt was like a 60-minute episode, but no, I'm wrong. So I guess it makes more sense to do something longer with the medium.
Oh, okay.
I still can't get over the fact that they tried so desperately to get From Dusk Till Dawn to be one of those movies.
That's a wild alternate history.
Yeah. Evidently, Tarantino was like, not enough money, no thanks. Well, what had he? I guess he had done Pulp Fiction, but I don't know. I don't know the timeline of when that was happening.
Yeah, I don't either, honestly.
I'm glad it didn't happen. I don't think it would have been as good.
But I mean, that movie did kind of embrace the absurdity that this kind of, I mean, not as much slapstick, but it definitely embraced sort of the visual kind of hilarity and the kind of tone, I would say, a little bit that this does. It's a little bit more, a little serious maybe in spots.
That's a movie I watched a lot as a kid, but the one thing I wasn't allowed to see as a kid, I mean, I could watch the fucking Zapruder film if I wanted. They rented me Traces of Death once from Hollywood Video, but the one thing I couldn't see was nudity, so I always had to cover my eyes.
Me too!
Yet, for some reason, we insisted on watching From Dusk Till Dawn over and over. The entire second half of that movie, I wasn't allowed to look at.
It's just titties. Yeah. It's just titties the whole time.
Why do you keep playing this, guys? What are you doing to me?
My parents were the same way, and I was very good about it. If I was going to watch a horror movie, I would have to cover my eyes over the nudity. And of course, I'm like, later on, I'm gay. It doesn't really matter. Titties, yay. Like, but it was always a thing.
Oh, Terry, did you cover your eyes even if they weren't with you while you were watching a scary movie?
I was so afraid that I was going to get caught and that they wouldn't let me watch movies again. So I was very good about it. It was sort of like the Santa thing. We're always watching type of thing. Like, yep, never did.
They have cameras like set up in the house.
Maybe. That would have been wild.
Yeah.
They would have seen me like pausing Dragon Slayer to catch the guy's butt all the time.
As a teenager, I had... I am only just recently discovering I had what is called a Truman syndrome, which is you believe what happened in the Truman Show is also happening to you. And I was always like, oh shit, who's watching me? I would look for cameras and like, so I don't know if something like that was happening to you too. Maybe they did have cameras.
They might have.
It could have been.
Oh my gosh. But this movie is incredibly horny though. Like,
she's a horny movie.
At one point, we're doing Billy Zane ASMR hour, like when he is talking, and it's just like, yes, Cordelia, I could love you unconditionally.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, I'm like, oh, is this an ASMR channel I can just listen to and have him talk to me like this all the time?
I have been obsessed with Billy Zane since Titanic. I saw Titanic in movie theaters when I was way too young to understand what was happening. Like, I was so young that I thought they killed Leonardo DiCaprio for real. Like, I thought they killed actors for real in movies. Like, that was how young I was when I saw Titanic. But Billy Zane, yes, his character is a horrific piece of shit. But boy, oh boy, was he a handsome man. And then I saw him in Zoolander. This is so stupid. He has a really quick cameo in Zoolander, and they go. Ben Stiller goes, "Can it, Zane?" and runs after Owen Wilson. This is the very specific memories I have about Billy Zane and him being attractive. I now have this to fill in another gap of my knowledge about how attractive Billy Zane is. That man's eyebrows and his face are so incredible. And I wish he has any more movies with acting like this. He's so good in this movie, though. Like, he's so good at being kind of funny and fucked up. Like, the first time he starts joking around, like, when he tries to get out of the cowboy outfit, too. Like, not the first time, but he's just like, well, howdy doody, motherfucker! I was like, oh my god. This is the best day. He's so incredible.
Evidently, he got his cast in Titanic because of this movie, supposedly.
Oh, really?
No way!
That's what he said on the making of. He said it was because of him playing a villain in this movie that he was cast in Titanic, which is just hilarious. Also, it was the first movie he did bald as well, because up until then he had wigs on and no one knew. Evidently, it was a big secret they were talking about. He shows up to I'm blanking on the director's name. Who directed this?
Ernest Dickerson. Dickerson.
He shows up to his house. I don't know, his office, and he has kind of like in the movie, he has a suitcase with him. He's dressed like a cowboy. He walks up, he sets the suitcase down, he opens it, and it's many wigs. And he goes, "Okay, which one do you want me to have in the movie?" And Dickerson's like, "None of them." Why would I want you to have a wig on? That was like
he looks so good without the wig.
I agree.
See, in the first movie I ever saw him in was Dead Calm. With Nicole Kidman, or he's playing like a villain in that. And yeah, I'm looking back at pictures of them, and because I've always imagined him without hair, because that's, he's been that way for so long. But yeah, he definitely had hair at that movie. But man, was he incredibly attractive in that movie too. He just, I don't know, he just does it for me.
He can smolder. That boy can smolder.
I hope he listens to this.
I hope
me
so too.
Billy
Zane, come on the podcast.
You.
I
Oh my god, Billy Zane, come on the podcast. Oh my god. I wish, because William Sadler is like the hero at first. And like, that's all well and good. I like William Sadler. I just wanted more Billy Zane, or I wanted more Jerry Lynn. Who is our iconic final girl, played by Jada Pinkett Smith, who is unfortunately in the news as of late. But she, again, this is my first time seeing it. And I'd always heard she was an incredible final girl. I always loved like all of the screenshots I'd seen of this movie. She looked like a badass. She is a badass, and she's a cat lady.
She is a cat lady.
She's a cat lady, and she's formerly incarcerated.
Do you think she goes back to prison after this movie for like breaking parole things? She just leaves. Oh. Isn't she like out like on a job, like a specific, I have to have this job?
Yeah,
she's going to prison.
Oh, true.
Maybe that's why she fled.
Honestly, that's probably the least of her worries. She'd be like, put me in prison, please.
Can I bring this Christ blood with me?
Yeah.
Okay. I've now seen 2 movies in which the climax of the movie involves someone spitting the blood of Christ into a demon's face, because that is also how The Nun ends.
I haven't seen The Nun.
The Nun ends with Thaisa Farmiga literally spitting Christ's blood into the demon's face.
How did they get a whole JC's blood?
I don't remember. That it didn't save the movie. Unlike this movie where it's like a hilarious end note, it was not enough for that movie. That movie needed to embrace the kind of energy that this movie had, to be perfectly honest. And I have no recollection of how they got the Christ blood.
Okay, how badass does she look, though? Just drenched in that blood when she comes out of those shadows.
Oh, incredible.
So badass.
It's so badass. Well, it's like she holds a lot of it in her mouth, too. Isn't it? It's like
For
they're
a
like,
long
yeah,
time.
She held all of that blood in her mouth the whole time. But you know what? Who cares? Because Geraldine's the best.
Yeah.
And she is, like, again, I'm here on this train of she's a final girl more people should talk about because she is a bad bitch who survives, who also, one, resists Billy Zane's temptation. Like,
excuse me, fire shooting out of his crotch? Like, hello.
I love you.
His inability to say love was killing me.
Oh my god, it's just...
He gave big, like, Jim Kelly and Lyle tones when he was trying to say, like, I won't lie or something. I forget what happens in the movie, but he's also, like, trying to say something, but he can't say it.
Oh, that's right. I think he's in court. When he's in court he's a lawyer, and he's trying to lie in court, and he can't lie.
Oh, also, the pen is blue. The pen is blue.
Oh, that's right.
I've actually never seen Liar Liar.
That's
haven't?
okay. You don't have to.
I mean, yeah, I say that as if, like, it's like a quintessential piece of cinema. It's just like one of those movies we always watch, like one of those, like, Jim Carrey family movies we put on when we were all, like, having movie night or whatever.
I loved it as a kid, but I don't think it would hold up at all.
No, not at all.
I also love just the cast. I think this has a really strong, like, cast of supporting characters that, like, might be distilled to, like, one or two traits, but are really entertaining. I love Irene, this sort of, instead of being like a cigar chomping front desk clerk, she has like a little cigarette that she's kind of chomping on, but she turns into a badass, loses her arm. And the funniest part to me is when he's like, he's trying to, like, you know, woo everyone based on, you know, their desires. And he comes up with this arm surrounded by apples.
Oh my god.
Like, I'll give you your arm back. And she's like, what is this? And he's like, I'm flicking you off. It's just, I'm like, Queen. Iconic.
And I love her. Like, CCH Pounder. Like, whenever I see her in something, she played a nun in The Orphan that I totally forgot about. The iconic performance where she gets hit by a car.
Oh my god, that was her.
That was her.
I just realized that.
Like, I feel like is an underrated, like, character actor in horror movies that, like, shows up and has, like, a small role, but it's incredible because she's amazing. She's also, I think, in Psycho 4, the one by Mick Garris, the Psycho movie by Mick Garris. She's like a radio announcer in it. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know he made a Psycho.
I think so. I think it's a Psycho.
Oh, I believe
3
you.
or 4?
I believe you. I just didn't know that.
Yep, Psycho 4.
Wow.
Mick Garris.
4, okay.
I mean, she also gets the iconic line of "Get the pussy off the table." I meant the cat.
Get the pussy off the table, and Cordelia gets off the table, and the cat. And I was like, yay, pussy humor.
she jumped off that table so quickly.
Oh, I know.
I also love Cordelia. I know, like, this, like, the downtrodden sex worker trope is annoying, but I liked Cordelia. I feel like she was a little bit more than just, like, your average downtrodden sex worker. And even if she was mostly a downtrodden sex worker, I just liked the way they played her as with, like, the kind of comedy in the background. And then zapping Thomas Hayden Church's nipples.
Okay. Roach. I, like, am just enamored with this character who's into nipple and electroshock play. Also wears, like, this mesh shirt like he's going to a gay club. And I feel like the demons could easily join them with their, like, neon green, like, stuff in their mouth. Like, I feel like they're eating glow sticks. Like, it's just a rave ready to happen right there.
Oh, it's incredible. And he's immediately just like, yeah, let's just give it to him. I love characters who are so quick to just sell everybody out to get out of it. I'm like, honestly, like, you're a dick, but I respect it because you're just like, no, fuck this guy. Like, I don't want to be here. Like, let's just get it over with. I love that energy. I don't think I would have that energy, but I admire that kind of energy.
Man knows what he
disappointing
wants.
that Billy Zane killed him. I don't know. He didn't feel like someone who would lie to me, Billy Zane. He felt like an honest demon.
Yeah.
Oh, not for 1 second did I trust that.
I don't know. I guess I got that impression because when they arrest him, like he tells the truth the whole time in the back seat. It's like, oh, I was chasing someone. Well, he stole something from me. I thought he was one of those, like, I always tell the truth demons, but I also leave out one detail. I guess like the Wishmaster. I don't know. I do love the whole cast of this movie. I love how quickly the movie begins. We just immediately jump into it. And then we go into like the most baffling hotel/brothel that just seems to be in operation. It feels like midway through a soap opera that we just jumped into. We have this postman who's about to blow up his goddamn post office with grenades.
About to go postal, like, because that was like a big thing at the time. Everyone's saying about that, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe that's in this movie. But he's stealing their mail, reading their mail, and then he's gonna go blow up the post office. I'm like, okay. Bet.
I love it.
I feel like there are a lot of these movies where it's like a motel of people, or like this kind of place, and it's like the island of misfit toys, but they all hang out and are all buddy. Is that real?
Yeah.
I wish it was.
Yeah, I think so.
Is that real?
I used to work the overall night shift at a grocery store it's a big company. It begins with a W.
Oh.
I used to, and there was a McDonald's connected to it. Every morning after my shift, my friends and I would go sit at it and kind of relax until we left. But there was always like the same group of like old men who would hang out at that McDonald's every morning, and everyone knew them. They would talk, and it's like I feel like places just have like recurring gangs of people who show up and they all know each other. I've never been in that, but I've witnessed it from the sides.
That's true, because when I used to work in a restaurant, and they would have like old dudes all come out and hang and just shoot the shit, and I'm like, how the fuck do you guys even know each other? Like, they would like leave separately. So that's true. I guess it is pretty similar, just like groups of people all congregating and just chatting.
Yeah, but not as fun as what's going on in Demon Knight.
No.
Everyone has like the best type of drama going on. I love it.
Not getting your nipples electroshocked. I can't get over it. I wasn't expecting to see
It was
it.
a car battery.
Yeah, and it was like jumper cables.
Hardcore.
Yeah, like the horrible, very
Dude's
metal.
been building up to that for years.
He's got calluses on those nipples.
I feel like they probably had something a bit more tame when they tried to film it to begin with, and then they were like, "This doesn't look good on film. Quick, go get me a battery. Let's just see how this looks."
Just hook him right the fuck up there.
I built a detail I just popped to mind. The flashbacks when they see Christ, all the Christ flashbacks. I don't know what you call them.
Christbacks.
Thank you.
Why was that in my mind too?
It was also in my mind.
I'm not gonna say it.
All the ground,
I did.
the dirt and all that stuff. They got that brought in from a local pig film, and it was just pig shit, all of it.
No.
Yup, it was just pig
No
shit.
way.
And it was like one or two people could be on set at a time because it just smelled so bad.
Oh.
Why would you do that? Why would you make that choice? Money, probably.
That is a choice.
And they filmed the whole movie inside at an airport, right? Didn't they film it like inside of a, what do you call that? Like a
hangar?
Yes. And they just like had the black sky just painted so they could film it in the daytime, and they didn't have to spend a whole month filming at night.
Oh.
And they just built the hotel.
I also will say, I did at one point think, are they trying to tell me that William Sadler is Jesus Christ himself for like a hot second? It's like, I mean, sure.
Yeah.
But what? I quickly obviously figured out that was not the case, but I was like, oh no, is this going to be Jesus? Like, I was fully ready for some weird shit.
Can you imagine if that was the case?
Oh, that would be
Jesus
incredible.
just been like on the run.
Yeah. And then a black woman replaces him. Yeah, that would be incredible.
The maggot I found in the woods as a kid, something else he said to me that I neglected to tell you was, it's me, Christ! So, the maggot was Jesus Christ.
So,
oh my god, he's here!
just blowing my mind.
For the longest time while watching the movie this time, because I had just begun watching the TV show again, I thought William Sadler's character was the character he plays in the pilot of the TV show. So Millie Beth, you said you hadn't seen it, or you had seen the pilot?
I haven't seen it.
So in the pilot episode, he's the protagonist. He plays an executional, and they abolish capital punishment, and he no longer has a job. So he goes around like finding people he thinks should be executed, and he kills them. And then he gets arrested just in time for them to bring back the death penalty. So he gets shot. So he gets it. And for some reason, I was thinking, is he supposed to be that guy who died and went to hell, and now he's back being the Demon Knight? But I looked it up in two completely different names. So I think they just thought it would be fun to get the same guy playing the protagonist, I guess. I don't know. I wish it was the same guy.
You know, one of the things that I love about this movie and about the TV show, and it reminded me of how like music can get stuck in your head. The theme song to this by Danny Elfman is so perfect. It's so perfect. And I love the tracking shot into the Crypt Keeper's house. I'm like, I want to live there. Get rid of the spider webs, and I kind of want to live there. I've always wanted a secret passage in my house.
I love the new demon at the end whistling the theme song.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. Oh,
that was good.
The new demon. Oh, I wanted so many more movies after watching this. I was like, I want a movie series with her.
We should get a sequel. Like, now she's lived a life, and she needs to pass it on again.
It's time, requels are a thing right now. Let's do it.
Demon Days. Let's make it.
I think we've already started.
Oh my god. Jada, call us. Billy Zane, Jada Pinkett Smith, y'all are listening. Give us a call. It would be incredible to work with you. No, I just absolutely love how it goes from like, obviously, like historically speaking, Jesus was most likely not white, but Catholicism and Christianity like to portray him as white. And then you have William Sadler's character in some war of some kind. Is it? What did he say? Which one? Some Civil War?
1917.
That would have been World War
World
One,
War
right?
One. And then again, it's not subtle, but I just like having all of these men, like white coated men, passing it down to Jerry Lynn at the end as like a black woman was also really cool. And again, so many cool opportunities there for like an incredible franchise with a black horror lead, like a black female lead in horror, directed by a black guy.
What's interesting though is that
opportunities.
Apparently, when Mary Lambert was attached to direct it, she had some, as they call, radical ideas, including casting an African American as Breaker to create the theme that the oppressed people of Earth were also its saviors.
Mary Lambert!
Of course, she decided to go do Pet Sematary 2, and less said about that movie, the better.
Mary Lambert, we love you. Everybody makes mistakes.
But I also, we kind of touched on a little bit. I do want to focus on the special effects very briefly because I love the when the people get possessed, that they tend to lose their jaw, and I love that effect of them their jaw just coming out and they just have this ginormous tongue. Like it's such a goopy, cool, practical effect. And Todd Masters, he got to start doing Night of the Creeps. He did Greta's prosthetics in Nightmare on Elm Street 5. Remember that movie where she's in the fridge? He did that prosthetics. He would go on to do Slither, which is one of the goopiest movies I've ever seen.
Oh, icky.
Fun fact. Also, who did Slither, who was working with them, is a guy named Dan Rebuild, who did the practical effects of We Need to Do Something.
Oh,
shit. How it's connected.
Dang.
Yeah. He was a young boy when he did that movie.
Whoa.
I love Slither.
I just watched it like a couple weeks ago, and I was watching the behind the scenes of that movie, and in the background you see Dan Rebuild just like really young in his early 20s in the background helping with one of the tentacles. I was so happy.
I just got the nastiest t-shirt I own from the movie. It's got Michael Rooker looking like a fucking snack, and by snack I mean hell creature on the front, and the back is, I forgot her name, the woman when she is impregnated.
Oh. I'm so fucking hungry.
That's exactly it.
I want that shirt. That's amazing. Slither is one of my favorite movies.
It's gross, but I love it.
He also did Mary Beth Blair Witch, not the Blair Witch Project, the 2016 Blair Witch. He did the effects for that.
There's some good shit in that one too. Look, I am a Blair Witch 2016 defender. Thank you very much, everybody. It's a good movie. Don't say anything, Max, if you don't. Have you seen the OG?
Yeah,
Blair Witch?
that's the only one I've seen. I like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
The 2016 one is pretty good.
Cool.
I think.
I've seen that one, and that, remember a while back we went through a phase where we had a bunch of movies with just thumbs in them. It's like thumb builds and like...
Oh my god, the Blair thumb! I
Yeah.
literally saw this the other weekend at a film festival, and they had it on fucking DVD. It was a woman's thumb.
Yeah, I saw
So,
that
Terry,
as a kid.
They reenact the scene where Heather's crying, and they put the
As
little
a
beanie...
thumb?
Yeah, as a thumb.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah.
I'm glad we
I must-
stopped doing that.
Me too. I know. I watched that and I was like, I'm so glad that we as a society got over that. Turning your head upside down and putting eyeballs on your chin and doing that and then using your toes.
Yeah.
Like,
Now
I'm
it's
so
just-
glad.
We just need endless legs now. Make that
That
come back.
I can get behind.
I've been thinking about that all day. It's just so creepy. I don't like it.
My fiance is an artist and does horror art. I'm going to make him draw that. I'm going to send it to you.
I would love that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One last thing I need to say, Mary Beth, because I watch the show for Little Cuts, which is our little mini-sode that we do, Max, where we talk about the stuff we've been watching, and I watched this on Little Cuts, and I was trying to tell you, Mary Beth, the song "Hey Man, Nice Shot." Well, now you've heard it because it is the opening song of this in the car chase, and I was like, "Hey man," I like this. You can't recreate that song, but now you have heard it.
Now I have heard it.
It's a good
So
song.
now me talking about it a year ago has paid off. So thank you for that, Max.
Absolutely. What's funny is I originally suggested a really different type of movie that I'm glad we didn't go with, that involved basically real life deaths. And that song is inspired by one of the scenes in that movie.
Is it really?
Yeah.
What?
The song is inspired by the real life public suicide of politician Bud Dwyer, who shot himself on live TV. And that's what the song's about. Hey man, nice shot.
Just fucking blew my mind. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Why is everything we talked about is weirdly connected with you? What the fuck?
I
Are
don't
you like
know.
some kind of weird like Mothman synchronicity?
It's the maggot in his brain.
the maggot in my brain.
Where all
It's
stories come
It's the
from.
maggot. It's JC himself inside of Max's brain as a maggot.
Guys, it's me.
Hi, JC.
Oh my god, he's here!
Oh no, he went back in.
Jesus.
He's
Can I
shy.
get your autograph?
$50.
So we want to give this movie a rating out of 5.
Yes.
Terry,
Sounds
how
good.
many Billy Zanes in a cowboy hat do you give Demon Knight?
Well, if we're talking Billy Zane's, it's going to be all of them. I want all of Billy
I
Zane.
want all 5.
Like a Billy Zane
But-
buffet.
Ooh.
Yes, you get a Billy Zane and you get a Billy Zane. Billy Zane's for everyone. I'm sure Billy Zane would have something to say about that, but he's not here to defend himself. So no, honestly, I think that this movie is a lot of fun. I think it's kind of it does slow down a little bit in the second act. You're right, Max. It's hard to have a siege movie when everything is protected, but I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's the kind of camp sensibility I, as an adult, appreciated where young Terry would not have. I think it's really well directed. I think the special effects are fantastic. And it has Billy Zane in a cowboy hat. So I'm giving him 4 Billy Zanes in a cowboy hat for me personally. What about you, Mary Beth?
I will also be giving it 4 Billy Zanes and with the cowboy hat. I should think of a way to incorporate the other one on the side, but I just want the other one on the side because I can. But 4 Billy Zanes in 4 incredible cowboy hats. This movie is incredibly fun. It's campy. It's ridiculous. Similar to the critiques of it being a little slow, and it's like obviously a little silly, but it's a movie that I want to like show all of my friends who don't like horror movies and be like, look, we can have fun watching this together. And it's kind of creepy and gross, but you guys, it's not like technically scary enough that you guys won't like it, which I like. I have a hard time finding movies like that for my non-horror friends. So it's nice to have another one in the arsenal that will be a lot of fun.
Good
To show
drinking
people
movie.
It
party
is a good.
movie.
Oh yeah, it is a good party movie. It's the good kind of party movie that you have on, but everyone wants to watch it, so you get rowdy while you're watching it all together. And I'm very glad. I'm always very glad to find another one of those. So, and I'm just so glad to have watched it and now be able to cheer on Jerry Lynn as an iconic final girl, iconic cat-loving final girl. Yeah, that's that on that. Max, you have the final word. How many Billy Zanes in a cowboy hat do you give?
5, absolutely. I love this movie.
Hell yeah.
My final thought I'll say about it is, while watching it this time, I kind of came to the conclusion, the reason I love this, and the reason I love, like, Sam Raimi's Evil Dead trilogy, is there's not a lot of logic to the supernatural stuff going on. It's just kind of a scene by scene, like, well, this would be cool, so let's just make it happen. And I love that type of stuff. It makes it feel like a huge celebration of the genre, and it makes it fun that way, to just not be too stressed out about explaining things or obeying rules. Just go and throw everything you have and make something fun. And that's what this movie seems to be.
I love that. I love that. That review.
Thank you so much, Max, for joining us to talk about Tales from the Crypt presents Demon Knight. Where can the listeners find you, and what do you have coming up that you can share?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Give Me Your Teeth. I also have a website called Tales from the Booth, which I came up with when I was 12, and now I can't change it. I have Maggot Screaming coming out in April. I have a bunch of books that I did not write, but I am publishing through Ghoulish Books, and you can just go over to ghoulishbooks.com and check them out. I also have a podcast you can listen to called Ghoulish. I even have a tattoo on my arm that says Ghoulish.
Oh,
but
there you
people
go.
can't see that right now because this is a podcast.
But we can see it, and we can verify that it does exist.
Yeah.
It does in fact say ghoulish on it.
And we'll make sure to put all the notes and the links to everything in the show notes.
Cool.
But listeners, you've heard from us, but we want to hear from you. What was your experience with Tales from the Crypt presents Demon Knight? Send us an email at scarredforlifepodcast@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us directly on Twitter. I am at MB McAndrews.
And I'm at Gaily Dreadful.
And of course, don't forget to follow the podcast on Twitter at Scarred Podcast.
Please don't forget to review, rate, and subscribe.
Thank you to Eric Power for our artwork. Thank you to Sean Keller for our music. Thanks everyone for listening. Please stay safe out there, but most importantly, stay creepy.
And until next time.